Good morning to all. Today we are going to discuss about theory of the electrophoresis technique. So first you should know about what is the introduction about the electrophoresis. So electrophoresis, first you should know about what is the definition of electrophoresis. It is one of the physical method of analysis which is involve the separation of the compounds that are capable of acquiring the electric charge in conducting electrode. The positive charger, it means a positive charger. It is positive charge of proton is can move on to the negative side. Again, I tell you what is the introductions of introduction of the electrophoresis. The electrophoresis is a physical method of analysis which is involve the separation of the compounds that are capable of acquiring the electric charges in the conducting the electrodes. What is the definition of it? The migration of the charged particle through the solution under the influence of an external electrical field. So the positive charge particle of the compounds is moved on to the negative charge in the electric field. Otherwise it is positive charge of the electrode compound is moved on to the negative charge by the electric field. So, okay, what is the definition? Please note in what is the definition of the electrophoresis. It may be defined as the migration of the charged particle through the solution under the influence of one external electrical field. These ions that are suspended between the two electrodes can travel towards the electrodes that bears the opposite charges. So the positive move to the negative and the negative move to the positive side. So it depends on the positive side of the towards the electrode that bears opposite charges. So please next move. The next one is what are the type of the electrodes? The zone electrophoresis and moving the boundary electrophoresis. So zone electrophoresis, what are the types? One is paper electrophoresis, gel electrophoresis, thin layer electrophoresis, and cellulose acetate electrophoresis. These are under come for zone electrophoresis. And moving boundary electrophoresis, the capillary electrophoresis, is isotachophoresis and isoelectric focusing and immunoelectrophoresis. These were the types is under for the moving the boundary electrophoresis. And zone electrophoresis first involve the migration of the charged particle on the supporting media. What are the supporting media? One is paper, cellulose, acetone membrane, starch gel, and polyacrylamide. Again, this is one of migration of the charged particle on the supporting media. The supporting media here I have to use for paper, cellulose, acetate membrane, starch gel, and polyacrylamide. This compounds separate or distributed into the describe the zone of the supported media, and the supporting media is saturated with the buffer solution, and small volume of the sample is applied in the narrow bond, and the application of the BD to end of the strip components migrate at the determined by the electrophoretic mobility. Again, I tell you that what is the supporting media in the head act as a supportive media. One is paper, cellulose acetate membrane, storage and polyacrylamide. These are the supporting effective zone electrophoresis. And what are the advantages for this zone electrophoresis? One is useful in the biochemical investigation, and a small quantity of sample can be analyzed, and the cost is very low and easy to maintenance. Again, tell you what are the advantages useful in the biochemical investigation. The small quantity of sample can be analyzed, and the cost is low and easy to maintain for the instrumentations. And disadvantage for the zone electrophoresis, one is unsuitable for the accurate mobility and isoelectric point determination, and due to the presence of supporting media, technical complications such as the capillary flow, electroosmosis, and adsorption and molecular saving are introduced. So what are the advantages? It is biochemical investigation for the biochemicals, and sample can be analyzed, small quantity can be analyzed, and the third one is the cost of flow and easy to maintenance. And the disadvantages for the zone electrophoresis, one is unsuitable for accurate mobility, and due to the presence of supporting media and technical complication such as the capillary flow, electroosmosis, and adsorption and molecular savings are introduced. Third one is the general method for the operation. The general method for electrophoresis. Just noting that what is the general method is, first I have to set the medium with the buffer and sample application, electrophoretic separation and removal of the supporting media. You can first have to set it to the medium of the buffer and sample application where you have to apply for the sample and the veil. You have to apply for the sample in the veil. And the third steps is electrophoretic separations. Electrophoretic is a separation, and the fourth one is the removal of the separating media from the electrolyte, the instrument. What is the instrument you have needed for this? Do the electrophoresis. One is the electrophoretic chamber, electrodes, and diffusion barriers supporting and stabilization media. These are the needed for the instrumentation for will do for the electrophoresis method. So first one is the papers electrophoresis. More the paper electrophoresis. You can see that you can follow the cursor. This one is the electrolyte. It was that we have to connect for the two chamber. This one is the center between the two chamber. The support media is present. The support media, whether it's paper, acrylamide, or cellulose jelly. This anything you have to put in this between the two chamber. This act as a supporting media. So supporting media, another one is the paper is also available as supporting media. You can connect it with the electrode. Then you have to want the sample. You can see that the sample application is here. These samples are move on to the positive side. Move on to the positive side. So this is the basic method. We can note this paper electrophoresis paper electrophoresis can classify one is horizontal, another one is vertical paper electrophoresis. Horizontal electrophoresis, you can see that you have to say that two electrodes are present, and between the two electrodes, the filter paper strips as a supporting media is present. In between the electrolyte chamber, the buffer solution is presented, so that where tight housing are present for the from that buffer solutions. So the horizontal and the vertical, what can I do? The vertical I have to sample solution is above the airtight housing. This also is present for the two electrode, and between that filter paper will act as a supporting medium here. So next one is before that, what are the first one is the definition. We can see the definition of the electrophoresis. And second one is what are the types are available in the electrophoresis, and the third one what are the uses and advantages for electrophoresis. You can see that the paper first one is zone electrophoresis. You can see that next one is paper electrophoresis. The paper electrophoresis, you can see the two classified into two way. One is horizontal electrophoresis, another one is vertical electrophoresis type. So this is already done. So paper here the supporting medium act as already told this here act, and the support medium is Wartman filter paper number 1 and number 3 mm in the strip for 3 or 5 centimeter wide have been used with good effect. Again I tell you the filter paper such Wartman filter paper we take it and 3 mm in the strip of 3 and or 5 centimeter wide have been used to get good effect. The separation take place to 12 to 14 hours. Again, the separation of the particles, the time taking the turnaround time is 12 to 14 hours. The advantages for the paper electrophoresis is it is economical and easy to use, and disadvantages for that. Disadvantages for the paper electrophoresis, one is the certain compounds such as the protein, hydrophilic molecules can't be resolved used for absorptive and ionogenic properties of paper, which result in the tailing the dissolution of component bonds and electroosmosis. Disadvantages for the paper electrodes, one is that certain compounds such as the protein and hydrophilic molecule can't be resolved due to that absorptive and ionogenic properties. So it's going to be separated here. A paper which is the resulting of tailing and dissolution of the component is bond, and another one is the electroosmosis is high. Move on to the next one. I think gel electrophoresis. The gel electrophoresis separation is brought about through the molecule saving technique based on the one molecule sizes in the gel size of the substance. Gel material act as a molecular size. The gel is spoiled and a solid form of 99% is water, and it is important to the support media in the electrical neutral. Different type of gels which can be used here. Different type of gel are used here. One is agar and agarose gel, starch and separates and polyacrylamide gel. What are the gel are used here? One is agar, agarose and polyacrylamide gels and starch are used for the gel electrophoresis. A porous of gel act as a for act as receives by the redounding and or in some cases by completely obstructing the movement of the macromolecules while allowing the smaller molecule into the migrate in the freely. You can see the first one is the capillary tree for making the gel swap. Yes, sir. And the Abrus solution is for us into the casting the tray and comb insert into the gel and the sample analyze sample are insert into the each gel and after connected with the connectivity after that after connecting the electric charge move on to the negative to the positive side and after you have to visualize and there to the gel documentations instrumented. What are the DNA or what are the proteins are move, what are the proteins are move, and you have to compare with the base pair. And now you have to analyze this the base pair compare with the base pair. So these proteins are present or this DNA, the DNA movement is DNA, and DNA is where we have to compare with the base pair with the DNA and the protein. Next one is gel electrophoresis, the vertical stored gel electrophoresis and horizontal stored gel electrophoresis. Considered agar and agarose gel. What is the agar and agarose gel here? The agar is a mixture of polysaccharide and extracted from the sea waves, and agarose is chemically the basic of disaccharide, repeating unit of 3,6 anhydrous galactoside. The agarose is dissolved when added to the boiling liquid. It remains a liquid state until the temperature is lower about the 40 degrees Celsius, at which point of gel. The pore size may be predominated by the adjusting the concentration of agars in the gel. And agarose gels are we have the pores of the agarose gel are large. Agarose is used for separation of the macromolecules such as the nucleic acid, larger protein, and protein complexes. So one of the factors affecting for the electrophoresis one is the temperature, porous and supporting media, pH, and temperature. These are the factor how to correctly is maintained. Otherwise, your electrophoresis affecting then your samples. I can tell you what are the factors. One is temperature, pH, and supporting media, agarose sizes, and your buffer solution. These are the factors to affecting your electrophoresis samples. Disadvantages for the agar and agarose gel is easy to prepare and a small concentration of the agar is required, and the resolution is superior to that the filter paper, and a large quantity of the proteins can be separated and recorded, and absorption of negative charged proteins molecule is negligible, and it is absorbed the protein relatively less when compared to the other medium, and sharp zones are obtained due to the less absorptions, and recovery of the protein is good and a good method for the preparatory purposes. So advantages for one is a small concentration of agar is required, and the second one is the resolution of the superior to the filter paper, and the third one is the large quantity of protein can be separated and recovered. And third one is absorption of negatively charged protein molecule is negligible, and sharp zones are obtained due to the less absorption, and recovery of protein a good method for the preparatory purposes. And the disadvantage for the paper electrophoresis one is electroosmosis high and resolution is less when compared to the polyagramid gel, and different sources and batches of agartane to give the different result for purification is often the necessary. One of the most important point for this one is disadvantages. One is electroosmosis is very high and resolution is less, and different sources of and batches of agartane to give the different result, and purification is often necessary. Application widely used in the immunoelectroprocess. The mainly used for here the widely used in the immunoelectroprocess. Next one is the Polyagramatic J Electrophoresis. It is called as a page. It is separated by the polymerizing acrylamide monomers in the presence of the methylene bioacrylamide to cross-link the monomers. The structure of acrylamide and polyagramatic gel structure held together by the covalent crosses linkage. We can together polyacrylamide gels are tougher than the acrylose gel. The thermostable and transparent, strong and relatively chemical for inserted gels are unchanged, and the prepared in a variety of the pore sizes. The protein are separated on the basis of the charge and to mass ratio and its molecular sizes, and the phenomenon is called as molecular sieving. So the separator of the protein is based on the molecule, basis, temperature, and pH. This is called as a molecular sieving. Advantages for the pages: one is gels are stable over wide ranges of pH and temperature, and pore size can be formed, and simple and separation speed is very good in the comparatively the other electrophoresis method. And type of the pages: one is native page and a denatured page or STS pages. You can see that this picture in alone. So, can see that pictures the page can where the two type of according to separation conditions. One is native pages and denatured pages for the STS pages. The native gels are running a non-denaturation conditions so that the analysis natural structure is maintained, and the separation is based on the chart size, shape, and macromolecule. It is useful for the separation or purification of mixed protein, and this was the original mode of the electrophoresis. And the denatured pages or STS pages, one is separation is based upon the molecular weight of the protein. The common method to determine the molecular weight of the protein, and very used for checking the purity of the protein samples. So the type of the page is according to the separation condition divided into the two way. One is the native pages, another is the denatured pages or STS pages. The native pages is a non-denaturation condition, and the separation is based upon the charge, size, and shapers, and useful for the separation or purification of mixed protein, and the original mode of the electrophoresis. And denatured pages or STS pages, molecular weight of the separation is based upon the molecular weight. It's a common method for determining the molecular weight protein, and very useful for checking the purity of the protein samples. The the page procedure, I think we can see in the practical way. You can see just write your how to do for the page. The gel of different pore sizes is cast in the column inside to the vertical tip, often with a large pore gel in the top of and small pore gel at the bottom, and a microgram quantity of the sample is placed over the top of the gel column and covered by the buffer solution having such as pH so as to change the sample compound into the anion. The foot of the gel, the first step, the foot of the gel column is made to the tip on the same buffer in the bottom reservoir. So again I tell you the first step, the gel of different pore size is cast into the column inside the vertical tube. After with a large pore gel in the top and small pore gel and the bottom. Large gel of the top, large pore in the top of the gel and small pore in the top of the bottom. So in the pore gel at the bottom side, and the second step, the microgram quantity of the sample is placed over the top of the gel column. Top of the gel column means the large pore size is applied for the sample and covered by the buffer solution having the pH. So change the sample component into the anion charge particle, and the foot of the gel column is made to the tip in the same buffer in the bottom of the reservoir, reservoir and cathode and anode are kept above and below the column to impose on the electric field through the column. And sixth step, the macromolecular anion move towards the anode down the gel column. And seventh step, you have to move that there is no external solvent basis here. And although migrately, the particle have to pass through the gel porosis, and rate of the migration depends upon the charge mass ratio. The rate of the migration is depend upon the charge and mass ratios, and different the sample compounds gel into the discrete the migratory bands along the gel column and the basis of electrically mobility and gel filtration effect. So what is the pages pressure? First you have to the one is gel different pore sizes here. Pore sizes is caused into the column inside to the vertical tube obtained within the large pore gel at the top and small pores is in the bottom, and the samples are in the top of the gel column and covered by the buffer sources such as pH and change the sample component into the anions. And the third one to the gel components made up of tip the same buffer in the bottom reservoir, and fourth step at the cathode and anode to keep in the below the column and impose on the electrical field through the column. So the macromolecular anion move towards the anode down the gel column. The what is the samples are bottom to the top to the bottom side. The migrate the particle having the pass through the gel process, and it depends upon the large to mass the ratios. The different sample or compound gel separated in the discrete migrating bonds and along with the gel column to basis of electrical mobility and the gel filtration affected. The page procedure, we can see that the pictures, one is side is the buffer, another one is the two container having that buffer, and between that the support medium act and the gel. You give the high voltage of power supply, the samples are move on to the left side, negative to the positive side. And so next one move on to the sodium diazyl sulfate STS pages. Otherwise is called as STS pages. The native protein is unfolded by the heating in the presence of the beta mercaptoethanol and STS. It is bind with the it says a solution and denatures. Large polypeptide binds more STS than the small polypeptides, so the protein end up with a negative charge in relation to their size. And when treated with the STS and its reducing agent, the polypeptide became the reverse of the negative charge is equal charge density or charge per unit of length. This we can separate the protein based on their masses, heat, and pH. The native protein you can separate the separated or denature the protein like N terminal to the C terminal. Okay, thank you. And we have to move on to the next slide for tomorrow classes. And thank you.